This will be the largest, most radical transformation you've ever seen in our financial history. Crypto, the death of the old financial system, we're going to break that down today. I'm going to break down all the way from 1913 to today using my logical circuit. I'm going to share with you facts, figures, numbers, logic, and what I think is going to happen with the financial system. Do not make any financial moves based on what I'm saying. That would be foolish. Do your own research. So we're first going to start in 1913 with the creation of the Federal Reserve. I'm going to show you, right after I explain the Federal Reserve, the decline in the value of the dollar since 1913. It'll shock you. So in 1913, the Federal Reserve was created, which was an organization that was created to balance out the markets, to control the money supply and the job markets, and supposedly provide accountability for the financial system. But let's take a look at what's happened since 1913, specifically to 2020, to the value of your dollar since the creation of the Federal Reserve. Now, from this point on, you need to get a pen and paper because you're going to need to write notes. This is 1913, the creation of the Federal Reserve, and this is the value of your dollar in 2020. An absolute catastrophic decline since the creation of the Federal Reserve. Now, as we zoomed into 1929, we had one of the biggest crises, which was the Great Depression. It's important to understand that the economy was coming back. In 1913, we had a very big banking collapse where 8,000 banks were part of the Federal Reserve and there was 6,000 that were not part of the Federal Reserve. This is key. Now, this is my own knowledge. If you have any knowledge about this, please post here. But with 16,000 banks not being part of the Federal Reserve, gave them an opportunity to show how messed up they were by not being part of the Federal Reserve system. And a bunch of banks collapsed because they didn't have the liquidity that they said they have. Sounds familiar, right? So from my understanding is they pumped money into the 8,000 banks, which allowed them to give money to the other banks, pulling more banks underneath the Federal Reserve. Then in 1971, President Nixon came on a regular television programming show and detached us from the gold standard, saying that he's protecting us from speculators. Sounds familiar to 2020 to 2023 around cryptocurrency, right? So they detached us from the gold standard. And the true reason behind that is America didn't have enough gold to back the dollars. They told us they were protecting us from speculators. So from 1971, our money became fiat, which is fake money. So then we zoomed in about 1974, I think it was. We created what's called the petrodollar. We gave arms to Saudi to protect them for all oil to be traded in US dollars, which held the dominance of the US dollar, which is a key factor to write down for our future conversation. So I think it was around 1978. If you think about this for just a moment, if you're a CFO at a company and you're looking at future of your company and the American dream is dying because the US dollar no longer has value because it's not attached to anything, pensions don't seem as attractive. Giving people money into perpetuity until they die and a deflating dollar since 1913 really doesn't make sense. So they created what's called the 401k. And I'm going to show you what the godfather of the 401k said. The 401k was where you could take control of your investing. Now remember, from 1929 to about 1970, after the Great Depression, people would call the stock market the casino. So they took your hard-earned money and they transferred the 401k, transferred your retirement into the casino. And here's what the godfather of the 401k said about what he created. It says, even the father of the 401k, Ted Benna, tells the Journal with some regrets that he helped open the door to Wall Street to make even more money than they were already making. Let's take a peek again. In 1913, this was your dollar value, and this is your dollar value in 2020, right before the pandemic. So we're going to fast forward rapidly to 2009, where I believe the transition started to happen and the death of the old system and the birth of the new system, which is crypto, blockchain technology, on-demand liquidity, real-time payments, 24/7, 365 days a year. So in 2009, after one of the largest financial collapses we've seen in our living history, the housing collapse, where BlackRock, write them down, was tapped to balance out the markets by the Federal Reserve. Well, in 2009, the BRICS countries were created in January. Brazil, India, Russia, China, and South Africa. At the exact same time, Bitcoin's inception in January 2009. And we still don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. So to me, 2009 was a big transition. Well, if we go into 2012 is a very important year for you to understand. In 2012, the FOMC, Future Oversight Committee for Regulating Non-Bank Financial Institutions, was created. Rosie Rios, the 43rd Treasurer of the United States, who sits on the board of Ripple, was told to reduce coin and cash usage in 2012. The Obama Rescue Plan was created in 2012. And also the Mayan calendar ended in 2012. To me, it was the death of the old and the birth of the new. Well, Rosie Rios was told to reduce coin and cash usage for a reason, right? She said she was the last person to sign the $100 bill, and she's responsible for bringing in new currency. Remember, she sits on the board for Ripple. So in 2012, there was a transition, but she was having trouble reducing coin and cash usage because when the printing machines turned on full blast with the Obama Rescue Plan, when GDP goes up, gross domestic product, you can't reduce coin and cash usage because people are spending money. And this is her words. She said you need a shock to the system to change consumer behaviors. So then in 2020, we had a shock to the system. A pandemic that shut us down globally, changed the way we move money, changed the way we travel, changed the way we work, changed the dynamic of banking. And Rosie Rios was tapped by Biden's team to be part of what's called the transition team. Remember, she sits on the board for Ripple. So the shock to the system caused waves throughout the financial system, changing everything we do. December 20th, 2020, the SEC initiated a case against Ripple around it being a security, slowing down the innovation and the adoption for financial institutions around this innovative technology called blockchain distributed ledger technology. So they slowed down the system enough to FUD people out of cryptocurrency, showing you cryptocurrency is a fraud by collapsing FTX, Celsius, and a stablecoin in 2020. But at the exact same time, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, all getting up and running with distributed ledger technology, getting prepared for 2023. First they resist it, then they sue it, then they regulate it, then they join it. We're now in regulation and joining phase. So again, another key factor, BlackRock was tapped in 2020, just like 2008, to balance out the markets by the Federal Reserve. BlackRock touches almost everything you operate in from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed. They're tapped by the Federal Reserve, the largest asset manager in the world, to balance out the markets. So as we headed into 2023, another thing I didn't bring up about 2012 is the Bank Bailing Committee was created in 2012. So the Future Oversight Committee to regulate non-bank financial institutions, the Bank Bailing Committee was created in 2012, which were both implemented in 2023. And Rosie Rios said you need a shock to the system to change consumer behaviors, and she was tapped in 2020 for the transition team. And she said she was the last person to sign a $100 bill, and she's responsible for bringing in new currency. Again, she sits on the board for Ripple. So now as we sit in 2023, all the banks started bailing in. We had 3 major banks bail in, the largest bank bail-ins in our history. JP Morgan monopolized one of them. And Jay Clayton, who initiated the case against Ripple December 20th, 2020, sits on the Bank Bailing Committee. Interesting. So now here we are, July 2023. Judge Torres rules that XRP is not a security, shocking the crypto system, making XRP the only crypto with clarity. At the exact same time, FedNow Services launches real-time payments, on-demand liquidity. But there's only 35 banks on board. So now, the question is no longer, is crypto a fraud? The question is no longer, is crypto here to stay? The question is, how long will the transition take? The fact is, most of you won't even realize you're operating on cryptocurrency, and you'll still say cryptocurrency is a fraud, not knowing that you're operating and transacting on a blockchain technology, on-demand liquidity, real-time payments. So crypto is the birth of the new financial system and the death of the old archaic banking system. We move from the SWIFT system, cutoff times, to velocity of money, money moving 24/7, 365 days a year, and the ISO 20002 moving messaging, and then supply chain will move like the speed of light, and this is all going to be done through blockchain. So pay attention. The biggest transfer of wealth in history, and the biggest transition in our financial system, our economic system, and our spiritual system. Warriors! Get your shit together. Let's go. Love you guys. I have a detailed video breaking all of this down to educate you. Remember, I'll never proactively DM you. Those are all scammers. We do not ask you to send us money. Use discernment. I have an Education Academy linked in the bio, Education Academy. And I'm also a licensed insurance agent, and I have licensed insurance agents in almost all 50 states. We teach you the infinity banking concept, and it's a free consultation. We teach you what we're doing with our cryptocurrency, securing, compounding, and growing. So use discernment. Be safe. Never send anybody money pretending to be me. I love you guys. Have a great day.